Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for the first quarter 2022 earnings conference call for XPeng Inc. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the management's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. Today's conference call is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to your host, Mr. Alex Xie, Head of Investor Relations of the company. Please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to XPeng's first quarter 2022 earnings conference call. Our financial and operating results were issued by our newswire services earlier today and available online. You can also view the earnings press release by visiting the IR section of our website at ir.xiaopeng.com. Participants on today's call from our management will include Co-founder, Chairman, and CEO, Mr. He Xiaopeng, Vice Chairman and President, Dr. Brian Gu, Vice President of Finance, Mr. Dennis Lu, Vice President of Corporate Finance and Investments, Mr. Charles Zhang, and myself. Management will begin with prepared remarks, and the call will conclude with a Q&A session. A webcast replay of this conference call will be available on the IR section of our website. Before we continue, please note that today's discussion will contain forward-looking statements made under the Safe Harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. As such, the company's results may be materially different from the views expressed today. Further information regarding these and other risks and uncertainties is included in the relevant public filings of the company as filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not assume any obligation to update any forward-looking statements except as required under the applicable law. Please also note that XPeng's earnings press release and this conference call include a disclosure of unaudited financial measures as well as unaudited non-GAAP financial measures. XPeng's earnings press release contains a reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP financial measures to the unaudited GAAP measures. I will now turn the call over to our Co-founder, Chairman, and CEO, Mr. He Xiaopeng. Please go ahead.
谢谢大家好。2022年第一季度，小鹏汽车的交付量达到了34561台，那么同比增长159%，上险量继续在造车新势力中间排名第一。在3月份，我们的交付量再次超过了15000台，在疫情的影响下，仍然达到去年旺季的月交付水平。
Hi everyone. In the first quarter of 2022, XPeng delivered 34,561 vehicles, representing 159% year-over-year growth. We continue to rank number 1 among emerging EV makers in China, as measured by vehicle insurance registration volume. Notably, our monthly deliveries once again exceeded 15,000 units in March, demonstrating a return to the same robust level as the peak season last year, despite the impact of the COVID-19.
今年以来，我们的产品跟科技的竞争力以及品牌的影响力在持续提高，用户的需求是强劲。在3月份，小鹏的新增订单创下了单月的历史最高，在手订单也处于历史的高位。从3月21日起，我们全线车型的价格上调了1到2万，以覆盖电池和原材料以及芯片成本的增加。那么在涨价后，我们看到我们在中高端纯电市场的需求仍然非常的强劲。我们预计在5月份，我们的订单量如果排除那些受疫情影响的地区，我们已经恢复到与涨价之前相当的水平了。
Heading into 2022, our products and technologies competitive edge as well as our brand awareness continue to improve. The demand for our products was strong. In March, our monthly volume of new orders reached a new high. Meanwhile, our order backlog also hit historically high levels. From March 21st, we raised the price across our models by 10 to 20,000 RMB in order to cover the cost increase of batteries and raw materials and chips. Following the price increase, consumer demand for the mid to high-end BEV segment has remained resilient. We expect our new orders in May, excluding some cities impacted by the COVID-19, will return to the levels before the rise in price.
根据中国乘用车上险量的数据，在3月份纯电的渗透率已经超过了24%， 其中在深圳、在上海已经超过了30%。我们看到短期的疫情和原材料成本的影响，并没有阻碍纯电渗透率的继续提升和销量的快速增长这个趋势。我们非常有信心，通过小鹏汽车不断提高的品牌影响力，以及我们对产品、技术、智能化和品质的不懈努力，在未来的时间里面，我们将在中高端纯电汽车进一步扩大市场份额，并保持高速增长。
According to the data released on Chinese passenger vehicle insurance registrations, the BEV penetration rate in March reached over 24% and, in particular, exceeded 30% in Shenzhen and Shanghai. While the industry is strained under the current impact of COVID-19 related restrictions and raw material price surges, the long-term trend of increasing BEV adoption and the strong growth trajectory will continue. I believe our relentless efforts to advance our products' competitiveness, technological advancement, intelligent capabilities, and quality, in addition to the ever-growing brand awareness, position us well as we work to gain market share in the mid to high-end BEV market segment and pursue our strong growth strategies.
下面我想谈一下在疫情期间在供应链方面的几个措施。那么4月份以来呢，部分地区的疫情加剧，给整个汽车行业的供应链带来了很大的挑战。但是我们凭借着年初对于供应链形势的预判，提前做了比较多的准备，并且针对部分的关键部件进行了备货。
Now, turn to supply chain management given the COVID-19 resurgence. Starting in early April, COVID-19 infections spiked in certain cities and related lockdown policies have led to serious challenges to the auto supply chain. Based on our earlier judgment of the supply chain risk in 2022, we have stepped up our preparation for our supply chain and built inventory for some key components.
同时，我们在疫情期间继续提高企业的内功，用更完善的供应链体系和研发能力来应对行业性的零部件短缺以及成本上升的挑战。例如，我们从2021年开始对接更多家的优秀的电池合作伙伴。那么在今年的2季度，我们基本完成了电池供应多元化的布局。那么这会有效地降低我们在特定区域集中和供应商集中所带来的风险。那么这也对小鹏从2季度之后，包括2季度在内的交付效率以及优化的报名成本会产生直接且长期的正面影响。
During such challenging periods, we heightened our focus on strengthening our core capabilities. We worked to reinforce our supply chain system and R&D capability, advancing our core competencies to better position our company amid the ongoing challenges of industry-wide auto parts shortage and cost inflation. For example, we have established partnerships with a number of industry-leading battery suppliers since 2021 in order to diversify our battery supply, which we are on track to accomplish such diversification in the second quarter of 2022. This will help reduce the risk of supply location and supplier concentration, serving to directly boost our future delivery efficiency, including from the second quarter of 2022 on, and the BOM cost optimization in the long run.
那么芯片所带来的供应链挑战可能会比大家想象的时间还要长。那么在和芯片相关的供应链管理上，小鹏自2015年就开始分步骤的打造强大的嵌入式系统的硬件，包括底层软件的深度自研。我们很高兴的看到会在2022年，那么这一部分的自研会开始进入产生规模效益的阶段。深度自研能够使我们快速响应芯片的保障和保供的需求，更高效的完成紧缺芯片的验证、集成跟切换，这会为我们下面一步面对芯片紧缺挑战提供一个非常高度灵活的底层技术平台，并使我们拥有更好的在这一个方面的成本的控制能力。
The chip supply challenge may persist longer. In terms of our chip-related supply chain management, we have started to gradually develop our in-house R&D capabilities for our powerful embedded systems hardware and underlying software platform since 2015. And we expect to deploy such advanced platform in a broader scale across our new models from this year. Our pursuit of developing such technologies in-house enables us to quickly address chip supply shortage and enhance verification, integration, and implementation of alternative chips much more efficiently. It also provides a highly flexible infrastructure technology platform for us to tackle the semiconductor chip shortage challenges and strengthen our cost control capability.
小鹏的制造主要在广东，受益于广东的疫情控制非常的高效，以及在各个部委和地方政府的支持下，我们看到重点地区的供应链正在逐步恢复。我们已经于5月中旬恢复了在肇庆工厂的双班生产，并且将加速交付以满足我们的用户的需求。
XPeng's manufacturing is mainly based in Guangdong. Thanks to the successful containment of the resurging COVID-19 outbreaks in the Guangdong province and government support from central and local authorities, the supply chain in key areas is gradually recovering. We have resumed double shift production at our Zhaoqing plant since mid-May and are making every endeavor to accelerate vehicle delivery to better serve our customers.
小鹏汽车在智能化领域长期投入，为我们积累了良好的用户口碑跟独树一帜的智能化品牌认知。在一季度，高速 NGP 的里程渗透率接近 70%， 截止一季度末，累计高速辅助驾驶的里程超过了2400万公里，这为我们下面一步普及下一代全场景智能辅助驾驶打下了坚实的基础。
I would also like to highlight that our long-term investment in smart EV technology supports our ability to build up customer trust and loyalty, as well as distinctive smart technology brand equity. Our highway NGP mileage penetration rate in the first quarter was nearly 70%, and by the end of the first quarter, our highway NGP had assisted our customers in driving for more than 24 million kilometers. These achievements will allow us to pave the way to make our next generation full scenario advanced driver assistance system available to a broader customer base.
在2月，我们 OTA 的使用激光雷达感知的跨楼层停车场记忆泊车功能，那么这是行业里面第一个实现跨楼层的量产智能泊车系统。那么接下来我们计划在下面一步 OTA 行业首个量产的应用激光雷达感知能力的自适应巡航及车道居中的辅助功能。那么这个功能是基于视觉，并融合了激光雷达的感知能力，更好的识别车辆行驶区域跟周边的交通参与者，进行最优化的决策，使整个的驾乘体验更安全和舒适。
In February, we OTA released our LiDAR-enabled valet parking assist function that offers automated parking across different floors in multi-story parking lots, marking the industry's first mass-produced solution ever. In the near future, we plan to OTA release the industry's first mass-produced LiDAR-enabled adaptive cruise control and lane centering control function. It is built on augmented perception capabilities by adopting camera and LiDAR fusion, which enables better detection of drivable areas and surrounding traffic participants, making optimal decisions to ensure a safer and more comfortable driving experience.
在5月中旬，我们在广州成功地进行了城市 NGP 工程版的测试。那么面对广州中心复杂多变的路况，城市 NGP 在确保安全情况下，从局部使用已经进入到大范围的使用，运行整体流畅远远超出期望。那么当前正在不断优化用户体验。那么相信在我们获得有关城市高精地图等相关的审批之后，我们会推送城市 NGP 并逐步的覆盖这个相关的城市数量。
In mid-May, we successfully completed tests of the latest engineering version of our city NGP in Guangzhou. Navigating through the very complex driving scenarios across a broader area of downtown Guangzhou, our city NGP demonstrated a smooth driving experience with high safety standards. We will continue to improve the customer experience of our city NGP through fast iteration of the software. As soon as we obtain the related approval for high-definition maps of city roads, we plan to launch the city NGP and progressively roll out to more cities.
我们认为，只有当城市的 NGP 到达完善的阶段，形成智能辅助驾驶能力端到端的一个闭环，才会根本上改变用户驾驶的体验，进入到真正的人机共驾时代。那么小鹏汽车会基于高速 NGP、城市 NGP、UPA-L、LCC-L 等多项技术，会把它整合在一起进行积累跟迭代。那么我们会计划从 G9 车型开始推出下一代的智能辅助驾驶系统，在安全、性能、成本、使用场景的范围上明显超出当前行业内的所有产品。
Once the City NGP is capable of handling end-to-end driving scenarios, we believe there will be a fundamental change to customers' driving experience, bringing it to a man-machine co-pilot stage. Leveraging our proprietary technologies of Highway NGP, VPA-L, LCC-L, and City NGP, along with our unique closed-loop of data capabilities, I'm confident that our next-generation advanced driving assistance system from G9 will be superior to solutions offered by our peers in terms of safety, performance, cost, and generalization.
小鹏汽车在智能化的目标是普及智能辅助驾驶，最终实现无人驾驶对出行的巨大的颠覆跟变革。我们不会仅仅追求智能硬件配置上的堆叠，我们目标是在合适的 BOM 成本上能够达到技术能力和安全能力的最优解，从而实现在接近全域的场景更强大、安全的自动驾驶能力，创造更大的用户价值跟企业价值。
Our vision is to make the advanced driving assistance system available to a much broader customers, ultimately transitioning to full autonomous driving. We'll never simply stack up smart hardware components. We resolve to develop robust full scenario autonomous driving system with strong performance and a high level of safety at affordable cost, therefore creating greater value for our customers and our company.
因为软件方面我们进行全站自研，在硬件方面我们自主设计并深度集成，所以下面一步我们会基于自研的智能辅助驾驶，会深度的将智能座舱、智能底盘、新一代电子电器架构以及整车动力等系统进行横向的跨域技术跟能力整合，这会大幅度提高将来智能电动汽车的综合能力，给客户提供全新的智能体验，并且还可以有效的降低成本。
With our in-house developed full-stack software and core hardware at advanced level, our next step is to deeply integrate ADAS, smart cockpit, smart chassis, next-generation electronic and electric architecture, and powertrain systems, lifting comprehensive capabilities of our future smart EV products while allowing us to provide brand new smart product experience with lower cost.
因此，从5月9日起，我们开始在中高端配置车型上整合销售和智能辅助驾驶相关的硬件、软件和运营的服务。那么这将进一步推动我们行业领先的智能辅助驾驶系统的普及，并提供跨域的整合能力。那么同时在提高用户体验的同时，还能够有效的规模降本。随着我们在智能辅助驾驶软件的大规模普及，以及2026年下 L4 级别的自动驾驶技术的过渡，我们相信在将来这个体系上面还有更多的新的软件或者新的生态下面的一些商业模式会出现。
On May the 9th, we made our XPilot software as standard configuration on mid and high-end versions of our existing EV models. This will allow us to accelerate the penetration of XPilot software, strengthen our capabilities to provide innovative functions through cross-domain integration, and make our XPilot more affordable through economies of scale. With the upcoming mass adoption of our XPilot, as well as our advancement towards level 4 autonomous driving technology in 2026, we believe more business models to monetize new software and new ecosystem will emerge.
在车型研发方面，广东受到疫情影响较小，我们的所有车型研发进展顺利。其中 P7 在3月份率先成为造车新势力中间首个突破10万辆下线的纯电车型，也创下了月交付量突破9000台的记录。那么下面一步的 G9 是我们精心打造的旗舰 SUV 车型，我们计划在3季度正式上市发售和规模投产，并在4季度大规模开始交付。G9 搭载了业界领先的800伏高压动力平台，以及下一代智能辅助驾驶平台和电电器架构。我们希望 G9 的舒适感、豪华感能够成为同级别产品的标杆和旗舰。我们期待 G9 能够成为智能纯电中大型 SUV 市场的爆款。
Moving on to our product pipeline. Given the fact that the COVID situation is well contained in the Guangdong province, where our headquarters is located, the R&D of all new models is progressing well. In March, the P7 became the first BEV model among emerging Chinese EV makers to reach the benchmark production volume of 100,000 units, Meanwhile, its monthly delivery exceeded 9,000 units. The G9 is our flagship SUV model. We plan to officially launch G9 in the third quarter, followed by mass deliveries in the fourth quarter. The G9 is powered by industry-leading 800-volt high-voltage powertrain platform, next-generation advanced driver assistance platform, and electronic and electric architecture. We hope the G9 will become a benchmark model in its segment, boasting comfort and luxury, in addition to those industry-leading technologies. We also expect G9 to become a blockbuster model in the medium to large size smart electric SUV market.
在2023年，我们计划在新打造的 B 级车平台跟 C 级车平台各推出一款新车。我们看到这两款新车型能实现多项全球第一的技术创新，同时我们还期望这两款车成为同级别车型里面的颜值担当。那么这两款车加上我们现在小鹏的现有的车型，我们会覆盖从15到40万价格区间的产品矩阵，将会更加的完善，并会进一步加强我们在各个细分市场的领先优势。
In 2023, we plan to introduce two new models. One is based on our new B-Class platform, and the other is built on our new C-Class platform. We expect these two new models to feature several industry-first technology innovations, in addition to their superior design. In combination with the existing models, our product portfolio will strengthen our presence and leadership in each of the subsegment of 150,000 to 400,000 RMB price range.
此外，我们参与投资的生态企业小鹏汇天的飞行汽车的研发进展顺利，在其最新的产品设计中间，我们两人座的飞行汽车的核心，它是一台汽车，在大部分场景它会进行路行，而用户可以选择在道路空旷且符合条件的情况下进行垂直起降的安全飞行。我们相信在2026年甚至在更远的将来，在城市里面通过无人驾驶在郊区实现飞行等组合的立体的交通场景，会给我们的用户带来全新的出行体验。
In addition, the development of our flying vehicle is well on track with XPeng Aero HT, a portfolio company in our ecosystem. According to its latest product design, the two-seat flying vehicle's core is still a car that mainly drives on the road, while users may conduct safe flights with vertical takeoff and landing when road conditions are open and appropriate. It will deliver a brand new mobility experience for our customers from 2026 or in a near future in suburban areas of cities where people can actually experiment a new combination of mobility experience.
在未来推出的新车型里面，我们会更加关注平台化，推进更多模块化设计的落地，以及全新生产工艺的引入，并且让更多车型共用动力系统、智能系统、电电架构等。以 P7 的成功经验为基础，我相信随着小鹏的 G9 以及后续新平台、新车型的推出，我们将结构性的改善车型毛利率。我们中长期的目标是将公司的整体毛利率提升到 25% 以上。
We'll focus on the platform-based architecture and apply modular design and next-gen manufacturing processes when designing our new models to allow more models to share the same powertrain platform, ADAS, and electronic and electric architecture, etc. I believe, drawing on the success of the P7, we'll be able to achieve structural gross margin improvement from the G9 and subsequent new models to be unveiled. Our medium and long-term goal is to increase our company-level gross margin to above 25%.
在充电网络布局的方面，覆盖更广、体验更好的小鹏智营超充已经成为小鹏汽车重要的竞争优势之一。那么截至2022年4月30日，小鹏智营充电站已经达到954所，其中包含了774个智营超充站以及180个目的地充电站。随着 G9 大规模交付，我们计划从今年的4季度开始大规模部署下一代480千瓦的超充率。那么这个将实现充电5分钟续航200公里的更极致补能体验。
Now on the supercharging network front, XPeng's self-operated charging stations featuring a wide geographic coverage and a better user experience have already become one of XPeng's core competitive advantages. As of April 30th, 2022, the number of XPeng's self-operated charging stations increased to 954, including 774 self-operated supercharging stations and 180 destination charging stations. With the G9's mass delivery, we'll deploy next generation 480 kilowatt supercharging piles in the fourth quarter to provide a superior charging experience, enabling 200 kilometers range after a 5-minute charge.
坦率说，今年的宏观环境充满了各种挑战，但是我们也可以看，这些挑战并没有改变智能电动汽车长期发展、高速发展的大趋势。纯电渗透率正在不断提升，国内自主品牌占领消费者的心智，并开始向中高端市场快速的挺进。智能化以及相关的技术创新势不可挡。那么在这种情况下，行业的竞争格局将会加速洗牌，并且有利于我们这些竞争力突出的龙头公司扩大领先优势。小鹏汽车将通过产品技术的优势跟更强大的组织能力跟执行力，我们将会抓住市场重塑的这个机遇，巩固我们的领先定位，并取得更大的市场份额。
Frankly, the macro environment this year is fraught with challenges, but it is clear that these challenges do not change the long-term fast growth trends in the smart EV market. As BEV penetration rate continues to ramp up, independent domestic EV brands are gaining consumers' mindshare and making their foray in the mid to high-end market segments. Smart technology and innovation are here to stay, accelerating the pace of the disruption of those incumbents and presenting an opportunity for industry leaders armed with outstanding competitive edges to shine. Leveraging our leading-edge R&D technology and strong optimization and execution capabilities, XPeng is well poised to capitalize on the opportunities to reshape the market, cementing our leadership position with growing market share.
我们会在第二季度努力克服疫情以及供应链所带来的不利的影响。我们预期在2022年第二季度，我们的总交付数量约为 3.1 至 3.4 万辆，那么收入预计约为人民币68至75亿人民币。
For the rest of the second quarter, we'll continue to work hard to overcome the negative impact of the ongoing COVID-19 outbreaks and the supply chain pressures. For the second quarter of 2022, deliveries of vehicles are expected to be between 31,000 and 34,000, and the total revenues in the second quarter is expected to be between 6.8 billion and 7.5 billion RMB.
谢谢大家，接下来请我们的财务 VP Dennis 为大家介绍一下公司第一季度财务表现。
Thank you, everyone. With that, I'll now turn the call over to our VP of Finance, Mr. Dennis Lu, to discuss our financial performance for the first quarter of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. He, and hello, everyone. Now, I would like to provide a brief overview of our financial results for the first quarter of 2022. I will reference to RMB only in my discussion today, unless otherwise stated. Our total revenues were 7.5 billion for the first quarter of 2022, an increase of 153% year-over-year and a decrease of 13% quarter-over-quarter. Revenues from vehicle sales were 7 billion for the first quarter of 2022, an increase of 149% year-over-year and a decrease of 14.5% from the last quarter. The year-over-year increase was mainly attributable to higher vehicle deliveries, especially for the P7 and P5, while the quarter-over-quarter decrease was associated with the less vehicle deliveries affected by the seasonal factors relating to the Chinese New Year holiday. Gross margin was 12.2% for the first quarter of 2022, compared with 11.2% for the same period of 2021 and 12% for the last quarter. Vehicle margin reached 10.4% for the first quarter of 2022, compared with 10.1% for the same period of 2021 and 10.9% for the last quarter. The quarter-over-quarter decrease was primarily attributable to increase in raw material costs. R&D expenses were 1.2 billion for the first quarter of 2022, an increase of 128% year-over-year and a decrease of 15.9% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year increase was mainly due to, number one, the increase in employee compensation as a result of expanded research and development staff, and number two, high expenses relating to the development of new vehicle models to support future growth. The quarter-over-quarter decrease was mainly explained by less design and development expenses, which were affected by the seasonal factor relating to the Chinese New Year holiday. SG&A expenses were $1.6 billion for the first quarter of 2022, an increase of 128% year-over-year, and a decrease of 18.5% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year increase was mainly due to, number one, higher marketing, promotional, and advertising expenses to support vehicle sales, and number two, the expansion of our sales network and associated personnel costs and commission paid to the franchise store sales. The quarter-over-quarter decrease was mainly associated with the seasonal factors mentioned above. As a result of the foregoing, loss from operations were $1.9 billion for the first quarter of 2022, compared with $0.1 billion for the same period of 2021 and $2.4 billion for the last quarter. Net loss was $1.7 billion for the first quarter, compared with $0.8 billion for the same period a year ago and $1.3 billion for the last quarter. As of March 31st, 2022, our company had cash and cash equivalent, restricted cash, short-term deposit, short-term investment, and long-term deposits in total of $41.7 billion. To be mindful of the length of the earnings call, I will encourage listeners to refer to our earnings press release for more details on our first quarter financial results. This concludes our prepared remarks. We will now open the call to questions. Operator, please go ahead.
Thank you. And as a reminder, to ask a question, please press star one on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, press the pound key. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, if you wish to ask your question to the management in Chinese, please immediately repeat your question in English. For the sake of clarity and order, please ask one question at a time. Management will respond, and then feel free to follow up with your next question. Your first question comes from Tim Hsiao from Morgan Stanley.
管理层你好，感谢接受我的提问，也非常恭喜一季度的这个业绩十分的亮眼。那我这边有两个很快的问题啊。第一个问题是，其实刚才小鹏总在简报中也提到，就是小鹏汽车在5月初的时候，针对新增 P5 跟 P7 的这个车型针对软件的部分调整为标配。那当然这会进一步推动渗透率，那也有助于这个用户体验。但是否能够请管理层分享一下，就是我们接下来一些软件的策略，包含我们何时会恢复自动驾驶或者其他软件的收费？那如果大多的这个智能电动车的品牌跟进就采取这个标配或是免收费的一个模式，那届时我们是否会担心更难重回软件收费的一个模式？这是第一个问题。那第二个问题呢，还是想要回到就是这个整体的这个盈利水平因为年报业绩会的时候提到我们目前提价后的订单可能会从2季末开始有所贡献。那鉴于就是4、5月份江浙沪一带整个供应链的断裂我们目前预期的时间是否有改变？那另外我们进入到2季度，那是否有足够这些低价零部件以及电池来抵消可能4月份以来的一个成本上涨？那或者是说刚才也提到小鹏汽车这个比较多元的电池供应商是否能够帮助维持我们1季度的一个毛利水平？So I've got two questions. So the first question, just want to quickly follow up on XPeng's previous spec change. I think the company now makes the XPilot standard features for some P5 and P7 models, which will surely bow out to the user experience and adoption rate. But could you share a little bit about the company's new software strategy and when we plan to restart charging users for the XPilot software in the future? Would it be from like XPilot 0.0? And is that going to be a bit challenging to resume the fee collection if most peers follow us to launch free software ecosystem business model? And my second question is about the margin trajectory. Could you please update when the contribution from the orders with new prices will kick in? I recall management mentioned it might be late June, but not sure if there's any further changes amid resin supply chain disruption. As battery costs would likely be further climbing in second quarter, do you have enough the low-cost inventory for component and battery to cover the low-price orders delivered in both April and May, or we can leverage our more diversified battery supply chain? So those are my two questions. Thank you.
谢谢啊，这个非常好的问题。这个，小鹏汽车在中国智能电动汽车里面将软件进行独立收费，我相信我们是第一个做，而且做到的效果是最好的。相比我们其他的友商，实际上他们在中国的软件收费，无论是从渗透率来看，还是从收费的总价值来看，我觉得我们都是做得非常不错的。但是我们也看到一些变化，我们看到的就是说，如果将硬件先收一次费用，再将软件再收一次费用的情况，可能它从销售的角度来看的话，它并不比得上这个硬件跟软件一起打包来进行收费。我们现在的考虑，同时就按照刚才我财报所说的，如果把硬件、软件一起打包收费之后，会意味着这个软件能力已经内置进去之后，它可以去扩展到跟智能辅助驾驶、跟智能座舱、跟智能底盘以及多个包括安全、功能和性能能力的提高的这些能力，它是在这个一体化之后，它是更有可能性做到的。我们认为，在从现在的这个中等级的智能辅助驾驶体系，到下面一步很快进入的高等级智能辅助驾驶，也就是我们内部所讲人机共驾的这个时代的时候，我们认为硬件和相关支持这个硬件相关的软件服务和 OTA 的能力放在一起，打包一次性开始在这个收费。我们认为，无论是对于企业、对于客户的体验，包括对企业的这个毛利，都是有更直接跟正面的价值的。那么我们相信在后面我们会衍生出来不少新的软件或者服务收费方式，例如当高等级的智能辅助驾驶再往前走，因为有足够的数据提高之后，我们可能会推出例如按照时长或者按照里程的收费方式。另外，我们现在也正在看到一些新的以服务、以软件包加场景为组合的新的服务的一些收费方式，这些都是会在我们在更之后会来去考虑或推出。好。
So thank you. Very good questions. Currently speaking, in terms of our pricing on top of our ADAS technology as well as our software, I believe that amongst all of the emerging EV makers in China, we are doing the best in terms of our penetration rate, adoption rate, as well as the final results. However, we did notice a trend in the market, which is that if you separate the charging for the software as well as the hardware from the perspective of the customers or the consumers, it is actually better to do a combine or a bulk charging package that combines the usage or the adoption of the hardware together with the software rather than doing it separately. So if we can do this kind of integrated pricing model for both the software and the hardware, it would be actually very beneficial for our future upgrade of the software in terms of the adoption of the ADAS technology, the upgrading of our smart cockpit, smart chassis, as well as the overall software performance together combined with the hardware performance. Right now, we are in the mid-level of ADAS technology application, and in the future, I believe in the near future, when we are able to really move towards a higher level of ADAS technology application, which we internally call the man-machine co-driving experience, we believe at that point in time, we should be able to do a lot more OTA upgrades of our software with this kind of integrated pricing model that combine both the hardware and software, so that we can increase and enhance the overall experience for our products, for our overall user experience, as well as be very beneficial for the overall company level gross margin as well. And so we believe this kind of integrated pricing model for both the hardware and software together will be more beneficial and sustainable for the long run. And in the future, we believe that more monetization or capitalization that based on the software usage or adoption will emerge as we continue to accumulate more data and more user experience based on the launch of our software and hardware together. For example, there are different kinds of monetization that can be based on the time spent or the use time spent with our software, or based on the mileage that our consumers or our customers use on our products or services. Overall speaking, we believe that this kind of integrated pricing model will actually be more beneficial and sustainable in the long run, that allow us to further optimize our user experience.
Hey Tim, this is Brian. Let me just to add a couple comments. First of all, we have been witnessing, the various software monetization has been implemented by various companies in China, and so far I think it is quite clear that the separate charge and also subscription-based models has not been very prevalent in the China market. In some ways, I think it's limited the broader penetration of the utilization of such technologies. We believe that, at this stage of the market, our core focus is to make sure that we provide an optimal service package that can be widely used, that increasing the penetration and coverage and witnessing a stickiness of our technology is probably the first priority before we actually implement various different monetization strategies. So that's why I think we are adopting the current standardized charging model. But I think in the long run, when we actually see advancement in technology, see more broader utilization and also stickiness and dependence of this technology, I'm sure we'll be able to have much more robust monetization and variations that we can use for this Chinese market. And I'll hand over to Dennis for the second question.
Tim, this is Dennis. In the previous earnings call, we mentioned we will be able to deliver most of the new price orders probably sometime in June, maybe in the second half of June. Because of the COVID impact, especially in the Shanghai area, now we are looking to deliver the lowest price protected orders until June. So most of the new price order will be delivered probably starting in very late June and some starting in July. That's the present assessment of the delivery.
Next question, please.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Nick Lai from JP Morgan.
管理层大家好，我是摩根大通的 Nick。我一样就两个简单的问题，我先用中文问，再用简单的英文翻译一下。第一个问题就是，小鹏总刚提到说二季度的销量31000到34000台左右，换算每个月在11000到12500。那这个跟我们的这个产能是可以理解说，我们现在因为受到这个芯片制约等等原因，那损失的 production 在5、6月份制约的这个影响大概是20-30%，这样理解对吗？然后这个是20-30%这个 production loss 是在3季度可以把它渐渐补回来。然后刚有提到说芯片这个制约的影响似乎比预期的长，那我们现在在芯片的这个supply 的 visibility 这能见度是什么样子？可以跟我们简单介绍一下。这是第一个问题。那第二个问题是有关电池价格，因为电池价格上次也在业绩那个电话会也有提到，然后电池价格其实现在的这个上游的厂商，不管是这个 CAT 或是亿维里面都有提到说有可能是这个半年或每季度，甚至这个有价格联动的调整。那不晓得可以跟咱们分享一下我们现在跟电池厂家的这个价格调整的这个一些策略。My two simple questions. First is monthly production. Mainly guiding second quarter production of 31,000 to 34,000 units. That translates into roughly about 11,000 to 12,500 units per month. That means potentially we have production loss somewhere about 12 to 40% in the rest of 2Q. And is it possible that this production loss can be recovered in third quarter? And latest update on chip supply. And second question is really on battery supply, pricing mechanism with the supplier. Thank you.
Hey Nick, it's Brian. Let me answer your first question. First of all, you're correct. Our quarterly guidance for the delivery this quarter reflect of bottleneck in the supply chain, which is being impacted in April as well as May and likely in June as well. So this is actually a number that reflected that we cannot, obviously have the full output even with the capacity of the factory running at the full capacity. It's still limited by the supply chain constraints. We envision that if the supply chain resumes normally, we'll be able to catch up with the volume in the third quarter because we have sufficient capacity to ramp up production at a time. So I think I think we're confident that as soon as the impact in Shanghai area and some other area that resumes normally, we'll be able to produce enough output to accelerate the delivery and to meet the customer demand, which we're seeing is very robust.
OK， 我来补充回答第一个问题的有关这个芯片的能见度问题啊，我相信如果没有疫情的影响，基本上大部分的这个新能源的智能汽车的生产厂商，它的主要的产能，我相信会受限于芯片啊。我们最新的统计，这个一台智能汽车的芯片的绝对数量甚至达到了5000颗啊。当然它是很多的时候，有时候同一个地方用了数十颗或者十几颗这样的一个一模一样的芯片。那么从现在来看的话，一个主要的芯片大概有几颗的这个3到几颗的这样的一个芯片，我们发现来看到它的产能的问题不太大，但是很多时候的一些产能的问题受限于一些特别小且便宜的芯片。那么这些芯片现在来说非常不确定啊，在整个的这个中国的市场，我们都看到非常不确定啊。基本上如果能够看到当月能够看到4月就已经非常好了，很多的时候甚至当周只能看到下一周的这样的一个产能。所以芯片的挑战，我相信从在2020年我们开始关注，到我们认为2021年底到可能可以缓解，到我们去年的时候我们认为2022年底可以缓解，我们仍然认为芯片的挑战会持续到今年甚至到明年的更往后的时间。原因我们认为多样，但是我觉得有一个非常之重要的点，就是说随在芯片领域这个里面，第一，通过一些长期且包括甚至长协的战略合作，我相信可以解决一部分。但另外一部分最重要的，也就是刚刚我所说的，如何建立一个强大的跟芯片跟嵌入式相关的一个技术团队，它能够在数个月内根据芯片的动态的变化而将整个车的这个相关的技术平台进行变化，是非常重要的。所以我们对于芯片的当前的挑战，相对我们认为会比我们的之前要做得更好。谢谢。
Yeah, let me just address the question regarding the chips visibility. So if there was any COVID resurgence in China right now, I think the majority of our peers or all of the new EV makers in China right now will be actually restricted by the capacity or the supply of the chips in general. According to our latest calculation, every single unit or every single product of ours will need on average of 5,000 chips. And for some parts of the car, that will require about a dozen or several dozens of the same chips for just one part of the car. And for some of the main chips, actually, for example, 3 to 5 kinds of the main chips, their capacity is actually okay, and their supply is actually okay. But the main shortage actually comes from some of the smallest and the cheapest ones, the chips, and their capacity is very, very limited, and the visibility is also very limited in China as well. April, I would say, was performing actually quite well in terms of the capacity and the supply of the chips in this regard. regard. However, we believe that in China, I mean, the visibility to chips in general going forward is still very, very limited, and how its impact on our capacity is also going to last for a while. Now, from 2020 on, we begin to notice the crisis in shortage of chip supplies in general. And by 2021, we thought that, well, maybe the crisis can be resolved or at least alleviated to some extent by the end of 2022. But now our latest judgment is that the situation is going to, I mean, the crisis is going to still last for a while, maybe ahead into 2023 or even longer. Now, there are several resolutions there. For example, signing long-term contract with our chip supplier can be one of them. And the other is really, as I mentioned in my previous remarks, that we need to build a very capable team, a technological team that have very strong capability in building embedded architecture that allow our platform to be very, very flexible in adapting to the supply shortage of chips. For example, we should be able to adapt to, for example, the shortage in chips in some part of the platform or some part of our product, and we can change flexibly according to the supply of different chips and different part of the unit. And as I mentioned earlier, in April we did actually quite okay in terms of the visibility of the chips. And sometimes, we only have 1 week's visibility into the future in terms of our chip and how it affects our capacity. So overall, I would say the situation is still not very positive at the moment. Thank you.
好，我来描述一下关于您的第二个问题，关于电池。从去年开始，小鹏已经在非常关注关于电池的有关产能、有关电池的价格的一个波动性的问题。所以我们都知道，在整个的2021年，实际上，电池最难的是没有供应链，没有供应量，所以产能是严重不足的。我们相信在2022年的年底，或者说2023年的上半年，我相信在行业里面电池的整个的供应的能力都会大幅度提高。那么在这个情况下，在去年的第4季度和今年的前面的5个月，我们看到电池的受限于部分的原材料，特别是锂矿的大范围、大幅度的这个增长价格，导致了电池的价格有很大的波动。但是我们也看到一些变化，第一个就是说，就是中国的锂矿的价格上涨了非常多，但是在海外并没有同样的上涨，海外基本上保持和去年在上半年的相同的水准。第二个，在最近的这个整个的疫情以及整个的这样的一个锂矿的这个快速上涨的情况下，在2季度我们已经看到了锂矿的价格在适度的下行。我们实际上非常高兴的就是说，这个小鹏在从去年的下半年开始，我们一直在引入更多的电池的合作伙伴。我们期望有更多电池合作伙伴能够去解决小鹏在之前所碰到的这个能够卖不出去，但是没有足够的电池，导致产能不足够的这个原因。我们在今年2季度已经开始一定程度扭转，并且我们相信在后面就会完全的扭转，这是我们非常开心的事情。第二点，我们会看到这样一个新的重要的电池的多家的合作伙伴，我们可以在整个的成本上面有比这个之前有更好的这样的一个价格。虽然它即使在联动的这个体系的情况下，从中期来看，我实际上认为这个电池的价格会比当前的高峰会有相当比例的下降，但是有可能不会降低到这一个在前几年能够持续下降的这样的一个低点。但是换一个角度，我们非常有信心，在新的电池平台基础上，包括了 C2P， 包括了我们的新的超充的能力，包括我们新的用碳合硅的解决方案，包括我们新的汽车的封阻的和减重上面做得更好的这个情况，以及包括新的在电芯材料跟电芯技术上的提高。实际上从今年下半年开始的后面的车型里面，我们会认为在纯电的电池包括补能包括动力上的组合的情况下，会导致了我们在这一块的能力会更强。好，谢谢。
All right, let me address the second half of your question, which regards the capacity and the pricing of our battery supplies. Now, in 2021, our battery supply was greatly restrained, and that resulted in a lot of issues for us in terms of our deliveries as well as our overall capacity of production. From 2020 on, and also from I think from this year and all the way to the first half of 2023, I think the battery supply situation will actually become better. And since from last quarter, from Q4 last year all the way to the first month into 2022, we begin to notice that there are a lot of pricing increase in terms of the supply of battery, mainly due to the increase of raw materials of making those new energy batteries, which include a lot of price increase in lithium materials. And we noticed that kind of price increase in China, domestically speaking, but not so much in the overseas market. We believe that the pricing of lithium as a raw material overall remained the same as the situation back in the first half of 2021. And because of the current COVID resurgence as well as the price increase in lithium material, I think overall the situation remains very hard for the whole industry, not just for ourselves, but then the situation can begin to resolve, or the pricing of batteries will continue to reduce slightly from the second quarter of this year on. Now for the second quarter for the second half of 2022, we should be able to see some adjustment or some optimization of our battery supply, because we are able to adopt multi-suppliers of our batteries, which really can be beneficial in resolving some of the issues that resulted from lack of battery supply from previous quarters. And from Q2 on, we believe that we would begin to actually see a lot of progress in this regard. And the second thing is, with multiple suppliers of batteries, we can do better cost optimization of our products as well. I think in the midterm, the battery pricing will continue to actually reduce, from the current high level, but probably they won't be able to reduce to the low level as we saw in previous years. However, we are very confident that XPeng benefiting from our supercharging technology as our SiC charging materials adoption, also some of the optimization in our technology advancement in reducing the wind resistance, in reducing the overall weight of our products, as well as to overall have a higher efficiency of utilizing the batteries, as well as adopting multiple supply of batteries, can benefit us in the long run and can allow us to continue to serve our customers with enough actually production of our products going into the second half of this year. And we believe that from the second half of 2022 on, we should be able to continue to boost ourselves with new products benefiting from the above factors that I just mentioned. Thank you.
Next question, please.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Bin Wang from Credit Suisse.
好，谢谢各位领导我就两个问题，第一个是利润率我能不能理解公司指引这个二季度利润率会略有回调一些，因为这个新高价格的产品并没有得以充分体现，然后在三季度的话，那个毛利率会恢复到新高的水平，我能得到这样一个假设吗？以及就是我们这个软件收费的改变呢，对毛利率的影响会是怎么样，在未来的几个季度？好，这是第一个关于利润率在二季度跟下半年的一个问题。第二个呢，就是能不能请各位领导稍微介绍明年的两款车，一款 B 级车，一款 C 级车的车型。刚才提到可能会到40万，那是否是一个高端的产品？那么它的利润率能否超过 20%？ 因为我们指引中国那个长远的目标是25%的毛利嘛。好，谢谢。我稍微翻译一下。My question is about the margin outlook in the second quarter or the second half this year, because we see some different factors. It seems that the higher price products can only kick in the third quarter. That's why second quarter may be some decline compared to first quarter in the gross margin. And number three quarter, second half, can I assume the gross margin can reach all-time high when the high pricing products start to help? And the second part is that you recently changed the software pricing. What's the impact for the gross margin in the second quarter and third quarter? That's the number one question. Number two is about the new products. You mentioned there will be a large size products and the ultra large products in the 2023. And so what's the pricing range and what's the margin? Can they above the 20% gross margin because you're guiding that you target 25% margin in 2025 or mid-term? Thank you.
Wang Bin, this is Dennis. Let me address your first question. Yes, you're right. Because of the COVID impact, our second quarter volume was impacted compared with our original projection. So our second quarter gross margin will be impacted as well. We will further investigate the impact and also take some action to recover the margin in the second quarter. And going to the third quarter, yes, we will deliver new price orders. So our margin in the third quarter will rebound, will improve. However, we are seeing we will have further margin improvement in the quarter four when we have new model delivery to the market. So our margin in second quarter will be slightly impacted by the delivery, the new price order, and then third quarter will improve, and then first quarter will further improve. That's our present projection.
Yeah, and Bing, to answer your second question. Hey, Bing, let me finish. Just to answer your second question, yes, the products that we're going to introduce next year, which will include a product coming from a C-class platform, will be at a premium to the current portfolio products that we have, including the G9. So you can expect that will be close to or even exceeding the 400,000 RMB price range. And for such a product, we certainly hope it will have high gross margin. So 20% will be a very important benchmark for us to target our product design. But for that product, I think assuming a 20% or above product margin is actually reasonable.
Okay. Can I?
OK， 我可以补充一下这个我们内部对这两款车的明年的两款车的这个期望，我们相信这两款车加在一起的这种能力远远超过两款 P7 的能力啊，我们是非常有信心的。
And also, internally speaking, our expectation for these two new products is that their capability or their overall performance combined will be actually more superior than two P7s combined.
谢谢。那我就问一下，这个三季报的那个利润率可以超过一季报吗？就最后一个问题，谢谢。
Right now, we're not giving guidances given the lack of visibility of the I would say material prices as well as the overall environment, but we are hopeful that the rebound will be pretty robust from second quarter levels.
Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Jeff Chung from Citibank.
各位观众好，我有3个问题啊。第一个问题就是我们就是那个还没有加价那个订单，就是过渡到二季度。那二季度这里如果是34000台的销量，那这34000台里头会有多少台是没有加价的啊？这是第一个问题。第二个问题呢，就是很多投资者关注的，就是他关注的不是我们总订单未交付订单的这个量，因为大家都知道这个很大，但是他们是关注5月1号到现在新增订单的这个量是怎么样啊？他们非常关注这个东西，就感觉因为我们看半个月的这个交付量的话，就我们其实也不是说很强，所以就想新的订单是怎么样？就这个是基本上是往后看的这个第一个 KPI 啊，这是第二个问题。然后第三个问题呢，就是有关于这个一季度的这个指出的这个 margin。因为我知道这里可能就第一个就是我抛出软件之后，这次 margin 应该是多少？因为软件是包含这个成本的啊。然后我也想问，就是说如果不包含这些原材料上涨的话，排除这些，那我们一季度的这个整车的 margin 应该会是多少呢 ？Okay, I have 3 questions. One is the due to the very backlog rolling from the first quarter, how many volume to be sold in the second quarter will be without the MSRP price hike? This is number one. And number two is the newly generated order backlog since the 1st of May. Could you telling us a little bit on the trend on the newly generated order backlog? And the final question is about the first quarter vehicle margins. Could you break down the vehicle margins without the software? And also separately, could you tell us the first quarter software margin? And for an apple-to-apple comparison, if we strip off the raw material price hike, what should be the first quarter vehicle margin would have been? Thank you.
So, Jeff, this is Brian. Let me answer your second question first, which is the new order trend, and then I'll leave the number question to Dennis. First of all, as we said in our CEO presentation, that we actually saw the new order recovery in May in areas that's not affected by COVID lockdown in certain cities is already near the pre-price increase levels. Which is a very encouraging sign because obviously we see that demand is genuine and also it's actually rebounding pretty nicely. It took us probably a little bit over a month to build up that demand pool. Obviously saw the month of April, we saw slow demand recovery, but in May actually the order level is actually quite robust. And I would think with the increasing relaxation of COVID measures in large markets that we target, which are important markets to us, we see the overall order momentum will be quite strong. And I'll hand over to Dennis on the other two.
Yeah, hi Jeff. Let me address your first question. We don't provide very precise, for example, the new price order deliveries, the old price order deliveries. But in April, majority of deliveries were the old price protected. And also in May and June, majority would be the old price, especially for the P7. Majority P7 would be the price protection because the backlog is we need some time to deliver those orders. For your third question, yes, the first quarter, the reason why we can maintain the same gross margin level as quarter four last year was because number one, we had mix improvement. Our P7, the product line mix in the first quarter was about 56%, and in the quarter four last year it was about 50%. So that's a mix improvement. And next one is the variable marketing kind of rationalization. We technically reduce our variable marketing spending to increase the overall margin. Having said that, we were also impacted by two key factors. Number one is the NEV reduction, the new energy vehicle reduction, which is about 20%, the subsidy level about 20% compared with the 2021. The other one, the big chunk would be the battery cost. I cannot provide the detailed number, but that is a big offset of our the mix improvement and also the variable marketing reduction. So all in all, we were able to maintain the quarter four margin level for the moment.
Next question, please.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Ming Lee from Bank of America.
那这边的话也是两个问题。第一个问题就是延续刚才小鹏总提到，就是说有注意到这个软件硬件一起销售的话效果会比较好。那想了解一下，那像未来以后的这个 XPEV 的 4.0 的话这个我们还有是一样会含在车架里面，在中高配置的这个车子里面直接就是一个标配呢，还是仍然有可能是考虑这个用这个目前的这种卖断制，或者是甚至这种月订阅制。那另外还有一个问题是关于这个因为我们这次把这个XPEV 3.0 或 3.5 做成标配了之后，其实我们同时也同步也取消了这个免费充电以及 安装充电桩的这些补贴啊。那所以说可不可以理解说，其实这样子的一个 policy 事实上对我们的毛利额是没有影响的。这是我的第一个问题。那第二个问题呢是关于这个电池以及充电技术，就是想了解刚才小鹏总有提到这个480千瓦的这个充电桩将在下半年会开始新建，那它也可以达到5分钟200公里的充电。那因为以前的这个电话会议里面也提过，我们也有这个比如说这种800伏的电池，然后10分钟可以充电80%。那想了解一下，这个就是电池或充电桩的一个最高的这个spec 嘛，还是说将来还会有再更快的速度？谢谢你，我就这两个问题，那我翻译一下啊。So regarding your autonomous driving software, so in the future, will the sales of the software be included in the car price, or you will still consider to charge the consumer on a one-off or a monthly installment basis? And also, because this time you give the software as a standard configure, but in the meantime you also cancel free charging and also cancel the subsidy for installing the charging pile. So is it a margin neutral event for your business? And second question, regarding the supercharging technology, so is the 480 kilowatt hour charging pile and also the 800 voltage battery the ultimate battery technology, charging technology, or in the future you expect even further advanced charging technology? Thank you.
Hi, Mina. Let me address your first question. Yes, when we build those software into the vehicle together with the price, and at the same time we get rid of the supercharging, free supercharging, and also the kind of the destination charge, the home charge, and including the installation. And at the same time, we also adjust the price a little bit to cover some of the cost. So overall, the margin impact would be neutral. And more importantly, with more customer using the software, we will be able to increase the scale and also to dilute the some kind of the R&D expense. So overall, that's a good strategy for us. And in terms of the next product, G9, and also the future product, we haven't really decided yet. That was subject to further internal discussion. Whether we'll continue such practice or we will have another arrangement. That's subject to our internal discussion. And when we introduce a product, we will also mention that. Your second question.
充电上对，好，这个我来回复一下第二个问题啊。这个我们实际上今年因为整个的这个大环境的变化，我们原计划最开始要推出2种超充，第一种360千瓦，第二种480千瓦。在我们经过技术评估之后，我们打算在今年4季度全面的转到这个480千瓦，也就是说5分钟这个200公里的这个充电。实际上它能够在10分钟或者15分钟能够充电多很多的这个里程，但是我们现在没有最终的测试结果，所以我们并没有对外去宣布。先帮我翻译第一段，谢谢。
All right, let me address the second question of yours. Actually, this year we have made this plan to launch the 480 kilowatt hour charging facility by the fourth quarter. And originally, before heading into 2022, we had planned to actually launch two kind of charging facilitation. One is 360 kilowatts, the other is 480. But after evaluating the macro environment of this year, we make the final decision of launching 480 kilowatts by Q4 this year. That allows for charging for 5 minutes that lasts for 200 kilometers of driving experience. However, if you actually charge for 10 to 15 minutes, it can give you even a longer driving range, but we haven't had the final testing result yet. That's why we are not releasing the number.
我们的未来的1年里面，也就是当这个480千瓦的这个超充，以及我们的这个70千瓦的目的地快速充电出来之后，我们会进行更大范围的部署。我们相信在明年下半年，在电动化和智能化都会形成一个突出的拐点。 那么这个拐点首先说一下电动化，电动化在随着新的汽车的风阻更低，动力转换能力更强，以及在电池的跟整车的结构体系进行变化，以及在超充体系的效率化跟规模化之后，整个电动化相比现在的汽油或者相比现在的混动的优势会有比较明显的增强，这会极大的推动新一代电动化汽车的销售跟转化的增长。也就是说，对于客户来看的话，用更少的钱、更低的电池的度数，能够形成更好的续航以及更好的这个补充能量的体系。
And so for the upcoming year, we believe that with our building of the 480 kilowatt supercharging facility as well as our 70 kilowatt destination charging, we should be able to actually launch quite a powerful charging network that's going to cover a wider geographical area in China. And in the coming year, we believe that we're going to welcome in a new kind of era of automation as well as electrification. Now, in terms of the improvement of electrification, we believe that as our technology continues to develop in terms of reducing wind resistance, including enhancing the using the efficiency of the electric system, the power chain, as well as our battery, with also the further enhancement of the supercharging infrastructure, we will be able to welcome in a stage where an era where we actually have a higher charging efficiency or effectiveness compared to the traditional gas stations for ICE vehicles, which means that in the future, the market adoption rate for new age new EV will actually be higher because consumers will begin to actually see a great enhancement in using every single dollar for charging their electric vehicles with less usage of power consumption.
第二个就是我们也相信这个在大概2023年下半年会形成智能化的拐点，这个因为这个全车的高等级的智能辅助驾驶出现，会让整个全场景的体验都可以得到一个很好的、很舒适以及全面的这个用户认知体验跟安全的能力增强，并且当这个功能一旦实现了标准的硬件、软件打包的销售跟预制了之后，我们在之前提到的看到的很多的有趣的功能，包括主被动安全的极大的增强等各种跟智能化或者安全化相关的功能，都可以在同样的硬件体系里面全部内置，实际上等于是节约了更多的硬件。所以在这个我们非常坚信这个智能化、电动化在明年会导致新的平台车形成拐点啊。刚刚您还有一个问题就是说会不会未来有更快的超充体系？对的，我们也正在去设计再下一代的这个超充体系，我们希望能够在5分钟能够充电更多公里，能够去让它接近像加油的这样的一个体系的逻辑。谢谢。
And so the second part of my answer is actually by the second half of 2023, we expect to see a new development that is revolutionary for automation of our technology, which means that by that time we should be able to cover the full scenarios of driving, and overall we can enhance the user experience and also the safety standards for using our products as well. And by that time, which means that we should be able to integrate the installation of our latest technology in the hardware as well as our software, together with our combined installation or prefiguration of both the hardware and software together as a standard configuration of our products. When we reach the stage of consistent sales of those kind of pre-install configuration, we should be able to actually optimize the overall standards for safety as well as our driving experience, because we will be able to put in a lot of the embedded functions that we want to install in our products to optimize the user experience. And overall, that can save a lot of the usage of our hardware and overall to increase the usage efficiency and effectiveness of our hardware in general. So yeah, just to summarize, by the end of this year or by the second half of next year, we should be able to welcome in a lot of revolutionary changes in terms of the electrification as well as optimization in our industry. And the second part of your question is also about the next generation of our charging facility. Yes, we are still in the R&D process. We are constantly developing our technology in order to develop the next generation of supercharging facility that can allow for fast charging of 5 minutes and that support even longer range of driving. Yes, that's all for my answer. Thank you.
Hi, operator. We will take the last question.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Jing Chang from CICC.
好的，各位领导好，我是中金汽车分析师常金。那之前的话，前面的一些提问基本上也覆盖了我大部分的一个问题。我这边可能追问2个小的简单的问题。首先第一个，还是基于我们权益和软件激活收费的一个调整。那想问一下，就是基于我们现在整体的新车型的软硬体化这样的一个定价策略，我们前期也是梳理一下现在的车型，以 P5 为例的话，那不同的版本像 P 版和E 版。相对这个裸配的这个 G 版可能定价是高了，可能3万2和1万8，可能这个价格的一个差异更多的是覆盖硬件成本的一个增加，我理解。那么在这个新的车型上，例如像 G9啊，或者是明年的新的车型，我们是否会基于就是软硬体化的考虑，把软件的相关的一个收益或者是 margin 也考虑进定价中？也就是说相关的可能不同配置车型之间的价差会拉大。这是一个第一个问题。然后第二个问题的话。我们也是看到今年的话，可能尤其是在20万到25万左右定价的新的车型供给，有比较明显的一个增加。那部分的品牌车型也强调了在电动化一些新的技术的应用，比方说像这个 C2B 啊 C2C 这样的一些技术。我们也是听到刚刚那个小鹏总包会领导讲，我们会在 G9 啊或者是更多的新车型上应用更先进的一个电动化的技术，明年可能也是这个拐点。那相对短期来看，尤其是在今年和明年的上半年。是否会担心更多的竞品车型对像我们的现有的 P5 和 P7 相对这个技术相对比较老一点的车型产生较大的一个销量冲击和影响？主要是这2个问题，然后我翻译一下。So I have some follow-up questions regarding to company's adjustment to charging and the software activation charges. The first is regarding to the pricing strategy of new model after the integration of software and hardware. We have found out that the price difference of different versions of our current model, taking P5 as an example, the price of P version and E version is 32,000 RMB and 18,000 RMB higher than the G version. So more about to cover the increase in hardware cost. On our new models such as G9, will we take the benefits of software into account into the pricing strategy? That is, the price difference between different versions of the model will be widened. My second question about this year, we can see the supply of new models priced at 200 to 250,000 RMB has been increased significantly, and some models have emphasized their new electrification technologies such as C2C and C2B. And we have also heard that more advanced technology will be applied to our new model such as G9 and next year's new model. But in the short term, especially in this year and the first half of next year, do you worry about that competing products will have a great impact on our sales of P5 and P7? Thank you.
谢谢。关于第一个问题，我觉得可以简单来解释这个，我们在后面的 P9 以及后面新的这个未来的多款这个车里面，我们的确会把这个带智能辅助驾驶的高端的自动辅助驾驶的能力的软硬件价格跟不带的话，会价位会拉大啊。那么但是在这个里面，我们当然还有其他的方式，我们可以还有一些方式，比如说随着我们技术的成熟，我们在同样能力的智能辅助驾驶，我们可以用更低的硬件的BOM，我们有能力把它集成到更好。实际上在这个里面我们也在做大量的工作，而这些工作对于最终的客户是有利，对于我们企业也是非常之有利的。所以从我们现在来看，我可以跟您分享一个数据，当我们5月份调整了这个软硬件配置之后，我们在 P5 的高配中高配的选择的比例都大幅度向上提高了啊！让我们这个从现在的数据看是相当之有信心，在能力上、毛利上以及在最终的这个，比如说举例，我们将来在智能辅助驾驶的扩展上面，我们都能够做到把所有三者合一的这个价值啊！这是关于您的第一个问题啊。关于
Sure. About the first question of yours, yes, in the future upcoming models of ours, including P9 and other new models, we plan to enhance the price gap between different configurations. For example, for higher end products or higher end configurations, the price will be aimed higher because they embed or incorporated a lot of our ADAS function as well as the high or advanced software. But on the other side of coin is that for lower configuration products, we are actually able to sort of lower the pricing because we will use better BOM, cost optimization for the adoption of lesser advanced kind of hardware for those kind of low configuration, which can be very beneficial for individual consumers as well as for us as a company. Now, in May, after the adjustment of our pricing that include both the software and hardware, we actually have seen a spike in orders for mid to higher end configurations for P5. That gives us a lot of confidence in going forward because in the future, with this kind of new pricing strategy or incorporation of both hardware and software into the one configuration, we should be able to further enhance our overall capability in optimizing the user experience, the driving experience, as well as optimizing our gross margin and in adopting more high-level ADAS technologies into our future products.
关于您第二个问题，实际上，我对 P7、P5 并不担心啊。例如，我相信 P5 在这个城市 NGP 推出之后，是在这个20万这个级别的汽车里面是在智能辅助驾驶中做到最好的7个汽车。那么即使在往后的数年里面，我们相信这个大部分想做到这样的一个能力的智能辅助驾驶配备2颗激光雷达的汽车，它实际上价格也是需要明显超过这个价位。所以在这条线。那么在 P7 之后，我们也会有一些新的关于这个智能化的一些思考，等那个时候我们再跟大家来分享我们在这个新的这个 P7 上的一些动作。我们并不认为包括了，我们可以看到一个数据，就是在 P7 在2020年7月份刚刚推出之后，我们再看到这个2021年3月份我们推出这个高速 NGP， 以及在高速 NGP 之后 P7 的数量，这个销售数量直线上升，一直到今年的这个1季度，我们还创造了这个以月交付9000的一个最高的数。实际上我们跟我们的其他的友商的产品，我们来看到，随着我们的品质的提高，随着我们的市场占有率规模的上升，随着我们 OTA 不断的前进，我们的竞争力的提高，我们在这点上从现在数据来看还是一样的维持之前的判断。谢谢。
And regarding P7 or P5, actually, ever since the launch of CD NGP on P5, we've been able to actually recognize our leadership position of this model in the market. Because if our peers were to develop similar products with the same sort of performance configuration in the coming several years, the pricing of their products will be much higher than ours for P5. And also, we are going to release more information regarding our automation and smart design for the upcoming products and the current product portfolio. In the future when we have them ready. Actually, reviewing the sales performance of P7 when we first launched it in July back in 2020, all the way to in March 2021 when we launched the highway NGP for P7, we were able to see a strong growth in the total sales or the order number of this particular model with the adoption of NGP. And also for Q1 this year, we were able to record a historically high level of 9,000 units of monthly sales for this particular product. So I would say that overall, we are very confident about our judgment of this, the positioning of these kind of products in the market in terms of its own positioning, in terms of the product quality, our market share, as well as further OTA release in the future that will strengthen our leadership position of these products. Thank you.
好的，谢谢，我没有其他问题了。
Operator, we're ready to conclude this call.
Thank you. And this concludes the Q&A session. I would now like to turn the call over back to the management for closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact XPeng's Investor Relations through the contact information provided on our website or the Pearson Group Investor Relations.
Thank you. And this concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect your line.